Welcome to ACCA Advanced Audit Assurance or AAA exam. Now, this exam is the computer-based exam giving you the Excel and Word function where you can input your answer. At the same time, 180 minutes in total. Dividing the total marks in this exam will be 80 for technical marks and 20 for professional marks. And therefore, I will highly recommend my students to divide 180 minutes into 80 marks, and that will give me 2.25 minutes per mark to plan your time. And the exam will contain 3 questions nowadays, and all questions are compulsory. You must attempt all questions. 50 marks is the passing mark. Section A will contain 50 marks question, being 40 technical marks and 10 professional marks, and is a risk-based question in this section A. Section B will contain another 2 questions, question 2 and 3, each with 25 marks, being 20 technical and 5 professional marks for each question and question 3, question 2 and 3. And therefore, we got 10 professional marks for question 1, 5 for question 2, 5 for question 3, and total will be 20 professional marks. But how can we get the professional marks then? Now, for the section A, from the examiner's point of view, all professional skills would be examined. And in particular, there will be 4 marks related to the communication related to section A, where you are required to give a format of the report or the memo or something like that. And all other 3 professional marks will also be tested in the question 1. But in the question 2 and question 3, only the remaining 3 professional skills would be tested in question 2 and question 3. And this section will be focusing on, first of all, what type of questions may come up, okay, in the section A, B, which means the question 2 and question 3, and followed by how professional marks will be tested. As I said before, the question 1 in the section A will always be the risk question, that the examiner may ask you about the audit risk, okay, commenting on the risk on this financial statement or because of the detection risk, and also the risks of material misstatement without the detection risk. The examiner will also give a question about the business risk in the question 1, and asking you about the audit procedures on specific items and considering the professional issues, so any areas from the syllabus. Section B then is all about the ethics and the practice management question, so very important that the quality control and the acceptance procedures that you need to revise very carefully and tailor your answer to the case. And the question 3 will be the completion and the reporting area, okay, coming from the syllabus. So, for example, the audit report and something like that. Now, it's very important to focus on this, is the professional marks. 20 professional marks, first of all, the communication mark only appear in the question 1, being 4 marks. Now, how can we get these 4 marks? First of all, you need to get the format right. So either will be the briefing note, you need to state a title, briefing note, or the report as your title. At the same time, you need to have headings and subheadings. I will always say to my students, the headings will be the requirement. And what you can do is to extract the key words from the requirement and being your own heading. And of course, for each paragraph that you've made with a subheading, that could be helpful. And also introduction as well. Okay, so introduction. So this briefing note or this report will answer these requirements 1, 2, 3, and 4. Audit risk, business risk, and so on. You need to answer all requirements. A missing of that will be missing another 1 mark in a communication skill. And also tailor your answer to the case, so always say to the examiner that the firm should do, and you can put the client's name as well. And also the style of your answer. So for example, the language being professional. So it's very tough for any students to achieve the final mark here because you need to quote relevant standards. So for example, the accounting standards from the IFRS or perhaps the auditing standard from the ISA correctly. And you need to make sure that the clarity of your answer is quite clear and making sure that the marker reading your script will understand what is going on, and that's particularly important there. Now, that's how we can get these 4 marks in the communication skill in the question 1. Now, how about the analysis and evaluation skill? Now, analysis and evaluation skills slightly different appearing in the question 1 compared to question 2 and question 3. So in the question 1, there will be always that you need to determine that materiality level. So in addition to calculation, you also make a comment of why you choose this particular materiality level. Sometimes in question 1, that you may be given the financial statements where you're required to perform the analytical procedures by performing the ratios calculations as well, and making sure that you've done with supporting calculations and you can automatically get the analysis and evaluation marks already. Now, but it's very important to bear that in mind in this particular exam that quality matters. And that's why for each paragraph that you made, please make sure fulfill into detail. So for example, you need to identify where not further analysis is needed. So for example, you are given the provision liability, but you're not particularly sure why there will be a general movement of that provision liability. So maybe due to the legal claim or legal case, or maybe due to the warranty claims made by the customer, and that's why causing the provision liability of a business company, of the client's company to increase. And you need to understand that basis and understand how you can gain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence in this particular case. So for example, if that relates to the legal case, you may need to consult with the expert, for example, potential lawyers, and making sure that you've done such analysis into your answer is very important. That the examiner may give you a verb called analyze the situation or to evaluate the situation or to comment on it, but making sure you build analysis, you put your analysis skill in there and making sure that looks better. And also you are able to make a conclusion from the analysis. So for example, you need to obtain further evidence regarding the potential IFRS issue, and that's important as well. And you also need to demonstrate that you've got abilities to evaluate things. So for example, if a client does not amend a material misstatement in the financial statement, so you need to communicate the potential qualification of opinion to those charged with governance and the management, and being able to comment on what comes next. Okay, being able to comment on the disadvantages. So in other words, what comes next? I'm going to qualify my audit opinion and to give a particular audit report to you and something like that. So that's what I mean by evaluation skill. So in other words, what comes next? You need to tell the examiner to get this professional mark. Another professional skill is called professional skepticism, or we can call it as the skepticism skill. Now it's very important, particularly in the question 1, that you always give a conclusion to get the skepticism mark. A lot of students may easily omit this mark and losing potential 1 to 2 marks in this particular exam. So in other words, so in the question 1, they will be always given the risks of material misstatements or the audit risk question, and in the bottom of your answer, in the bottom of your report, you need to have a title called conclusion. And the conclusion for that, So making sure that you will prioritize the most significant risk first, and later on in our course, I'll be showing you how to do this with my pre-learned pro forma and paragraphs as well, with a brief conclusion justifying the decision why you're going to put the audit risk as the top priority, followed by the next one, and so on. Very important now. And for other questions, and of course in the question 1 as well, do not simply accept the evidence at face value. So for example, you may be given that the audit evidence related to management saying to you, okay, that the audit team has inquired with certain management team members to get the audit evidence, but do not simply accept the evidence at face value. Do not simply accept the evidence from the third party, but from the auditor's point of view, you also need to check it, okay, re-perform the calculations and so on. That's very important though. You also need to consider the sufficiency of our audit evidence as well. So making sure that you review the audit work, that you've obtained all the evidence, and making sure that you consider whether or not it's sufficient enough to form your audit opinion, and whether or not the review related to quality controls have been done properly. So this will be quite important as well. The final skill is related to commercial acumen. The commercial acumen in the question 1 will always be the business risk considerations, and making sure that you follow our steps in our course, okay? So for example, what the business risk is and what may go wrong, and the impact on the client's business resulting in reduction in future profitability and damaging its reputation and so on. And for example, question 2 in particular, you may be considering the acceptance stage, okay, whether not to accept the engagement letter from a client. So always tailor your answer to the case information, and making sure they use practical information from the scenario, and saying that, okay, if I were to accept as the engagement partner for this particular engagement, that may be an issue. So for example, a conflict of interest and something like that. Finding clues from the case, making sure that you fulfill your answer with detail will certainly help, okay, in this particular exam. Now that's how we get these professional skill mark, and I would say that's particularly challenging, but it's adorable and it's achievable as well, okay, making sure that you're ready. And here I summarize a few past exam questions taken from December 2012. Question 1, and you can read the Excel spreadsheet on your own. The question 2, what has come up, and the professional marks requirements, and from the September 2012 and so on, okay, and right up to the September 2020 for the question 1, question 3, question 2, and so on. And you can download the Excel spreadsheets from your study platform and to read them, what may come up, and the related ISA that summarize that for you, what has come up, and the related IFRS. What would be the most important IFRS to be tested in each and every sitting, and you can have a go at that, okay? And later on, from the next chapter onwards, we'll be covering the syllabus knowledge and to recap on the exam style, and then we will be later answer to the past exam questions. I look forward to seeing you then. Bye-bye.
APC, accounting for your future.